Mal.
So this is
Mal, look what I got.
this shout out to a special person in our lives.
Not a crime, just wound up in my bag.
So just to give a brief description, this is
Not a disclaimer,
no
a description.
This is episode 5 of the one-day event.
Oh, I want to do the disclaimer. You do the description.
Okay, sorry. Episode 5. Thanks to our lovely
episode. Never mind numbers.
Thanks to our lovely friend COVID. We're trying to do a few episodes in a weekend, and my buddy, esteemed friend over here, has suggested that we do several, and we are now approximately around 10 o'clock. I don't know what time it is.
Oh my gosh, it's always the right time if you just know where you're supposed to be.
And we're supposed to be at the bar.
Yep, and it's right now. Never mind o'clock. It's right now. It's regular episode 9.
Right before you die.
Try before you die, because you're getting old.
I am getting old.
And I'm right there with you.
Right behind me.
And so we've been through this before. It's about 300 bottles of whiskey in this place.
Correct.
And we're trying to see what they taste like. Some we know, and we're just going to open with you for a repeat time in our personal experience. And some we don't know, and we're going to really have a first-time experience with everybody. That's pretty much the deal, right?
Yep. Basically what's going to happen is my esteemed...
Does a teenager know you raid his wardrobe?
Isn't that supposed to be Barry Manilow?
Oh, Barry Manilow.
Yeah, Aiden, you're a little bit on the slim side.
He did all right sliding into that. That's like the elbow on a professor's coat.
I have one of those coats.
You're wearing the elbow.
I have one of those coats.
Yeah.
I love
Good
that.
job with we'll call you patchwork.
Patchwork.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what my esteemed friend's gonna break down his phone, which has like barely any power.
Oh my God, we are going to be lucky if we get to make a pick tonight.
Get a number. That
Another pick.
Flash will wonder where in this bar it's going to be.
3%.
And
Just get going.
We're not gonna waste any time saying that Flash should be here, making sure that we know all the numbers of these bottles.
I'm just hitting generate. We ain't got time. I'm down to 3%.
This is biblical right here.
96. Number 96, everybody. We're not going far. In fact, we're up here.
Oh!
All right, so we'll be excited for a second, but we're going to do something because we know we're missing bottles on this rack. So this is a total of 75. We're missing one. That's 74. The rest are there. 74. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 74 plus 9, 83. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 93. We're looking for 96. 93, 94. Oh. 75, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 83, 2, 4, 6, 8, 93, 94, 95, 96. Second to the end now, Mal, due to all the reshuffling at all times.
I think your math is way off.
Do you? 75.
I wish Flash was here.
74. 74. This is good. You're good. 74. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 83. 74 plus 9 is 83.
Yeah, all right.
84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90 at the Old Putney. 90. Second Old Putney.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, this is good. And don't experience Mal wishing it was a different bottle. This is a bottle I'm gonna bet you have no experience with this distillery.
All right.
And I have no experience with this distillery. So I'm sort of excited because I never knew when I was really gonna pursue this bottle.
Okay.
Okay. Bottle number 96 up top. This is a Longrow. Now, my belief is this is a distillery that historically was a big player and at a certain point was mothballed and closed and was just left for legends and for leftover casks that would periodically be opened and released.
Did you say long?
Long row, as in a row of corn.
Right.
And in the last X number of years, this distillery has come back to life. And we've experienced at least one of a scenario like this before. The Tamnavon, which was open, closed, still releases of leftover casks, and is now producing again. And the Longrow is in that club. Now, he doesn't know this, but he's super excited about this. Now, this is a heavily peated Campbelltown single malt Scotch whiskey.
Right up my alley.
So there are traditionally 4 regions in Scotland: the Islas, the Lowlands, the Highlands, and the Speyside. But there's historically another region known as Campbelltown, which is essentially a smaller island region to the southeast of the, how does this work? Of the western coast of Scotland. So Islay is essentially this island, and the mainland of Scotland is here. Islay is here. Just below that
Right there.
is the Campbelltown region. Right. And so just above that is Islay. So Springbank is also one of the classic Campbelltown region whiskeys. If you got anything on it at all.
You know, it has
In
it
the
in the
Longrow.
back. Oh, right here. And it's very, 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 very small blurb. Even the Longrow, with all its glorious peat, still manages to maintain a briny character. Each individual one is simply stupendous.
Oh, there is certainly no way to set a table of expectation than using the word going to be stupendous.
Simply stupendous.
Simply stupendous. Very light.
Yeah, very much like the Ardbeg.
Distilled, matured, and bottled in Scotland. Longrow, peated Campbelltown, single malt Scotch whiskey. First distilled in 1973, Longrow is a double distilled, heavily peated single malt produced at Springbank. Interesting.
Gesundheit.
It's just a little bubble. The malt is peat dried. You know, do you ever feel like a poltergeist is like nearby? Just like laying it in on you, you know, as if the TV has been taken over. It's a hard thing.
It is.
The malt is peat dried for up to 48 hours. Right, so peat dried malt, what that means is they on the floor below, the malting floor,
Is the peat.
they're using the peat at a very slow, smoky burn to dry out the malt for 48 hours to give the whiskey a unique Campbelltown-style smoky character. This is, you know, I think maybe one of my struggles over the last few years with the Longrow is I haven't like completely loved their labeling. For some reason, it's been a little plain to me, and shame on me for allowing that to hold me back from this experience, because this next sentence just caught me off guard. Less than 100 casks of Longrow are filled each year,
That's actually rather exclusive.
making this whiskey something of a hidden gem worth seeking out.
Simply stupendous.
And I have walked past and stepped aside from buying this bottle of whiskey for at least a year because it just didn't appeal to me in a visual sense.
All right. That's fair.
As this whiskey is not chill filtered, a natural haze may form when it's cold, but this will disappear when the temperature returns to normal. I had no idea that it was that limited of a supply. Peated Campbelltown. So you check it out?
That's what we do.
All right. Less than 100 casks for the whole world. I don't know if I believe that, but they printed it. I could just tell you that's what it said, and you probably couldn't
No, I probably
couldn't
couldn't
question
read
me.
it.
Yeah. Said something about.
So this is a Springbank.
Said, and Malcolm is.
So this is a Springbank.
Well, it's produced at the same distillery as Springbank, but Springbank whiskeys are labeled as Springbank.
Springbanks.
So for some reason, Longrow has some sort of labeling, proprietary something or other taking place at the Springbank distillery, where they're able to produce about less than 100 casks and label it as Longrow.
All right.
I can't answer anything beyond that. I've walked past this bottle for a while.
Because the description in that book was part of the Springbank
Right.
description. It was just at the very, very end.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can free up this cork. It's fighting. All right, here we go. Ready? I got it right on my knuckles.
Yeah. Another bassy one.
I'm curious, past the smoke, what your flavor, what you pick up on, because I immediately went somewhere that we haven't done too often, but it is a word we've used here before. We got to get a little bored. I got to be able to write the words, see if Mal matches me. It's a common ingredient in a American sandwich. It's a relation to a common ingredient in an American sandwich.
Nope.
For me, the smoke is there,
Oh, yeah.
but it was very nutty. So I was thinking of a peanut and the peanut butter and jelly, and the relation to that would just be nutty. I really picked up on something nutty on the nose right off the bat. Does that?
I just smoked a cigar, so I think
Oh,
okay,
okay.
That's one of my fingers.
Yeah, I still have it there. Very, very peaty. Not like a peat monster, but just a across all the nose of the whiskey, from beginning to end. It was very peaty.
So it is a very light colored. Again, I'm a little bit shocked. I will say there is some intrepidation in approaching this.
A Campbellton style smoky character. The malt spent 48 hours being dried out with peat smoke. Only made 100 barrels.
Bombs up.
Cheers. I've listened to Mal a lot talk about his reluctance or less than enthusiastic approach to Isla's and probably Campbellton's. One of the things I might say is I understand that approach, but this series has helped me begin to look at the range of whiskeys a little differently, and not just feel like a region is going to dictate the experience.
Agreed. And I think from my standpoint on that, even though I do say on a regular basis, I think what I have experienced over the past, actually the several episodes we've just done, is that the name is deceiving. You can't just say...
Right, with the distillery, as a result, the region they're in.
To say, hey, look, this is going to be this.
Yeah.
A lot of times, actually, we've done... Actually, I'm going to say this. Every one we've tried that I thought, ooh, has been... Exactly. Has been rather pleasant. As in a good drinking experience. Not something that's turned me off. This one, though, I'm going to say, this is the first time I'm going to use this word, even though we brought it up. But I have, with that peat smoke, this is the first time I think I'm going to get to use the word medicinal at the end of it.
Okay, so I'm gonna look for that while you think about that, because I found it pretty mildly sweet on the front.
Yep.
Not an overwhelming smokiness to it, but a consistent smokiness to the entire front to back. The smoke does this and a little hump. The sweet does this and drops off. And so now I'm going to pay attention to the end for that medicinal that
Yep.
you're noticing. So if I swallow it quickly, it seems like some of the flavor goes right back up the sinus, which would be a characteristic of a medicinal, because a medicinal doesn't swallow as easily.
No.
And that's the idea of a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Correct.
Right? What makes the medicine, and unpleasant isn't related to the whiskey, but what makes medicine sometimes difficult to swallow is that the aroma, the fumes, the taste overpower the end of it, and it comes back up in you. And this whiskey comes back up in your sinus, but it doesn't come all the way out of your nose. It like stops somewhere in there, so it goes down, it comes back up, and for me it ended.
No, and I think it's got along the lines what you just said. Is it's for what I thought it was going to be.
Oh my gosh, not what I
Medicinal.
thought. Yeah.
And then I looked at it and I drank it, and actually it's rather mellow in its peatiness and its smokiness. It's not as much as I thought it was going to be when I hear Campbelltown or Islay.
A peated Campbellton malt. I mean,
I immediately
screaming
think
peat.
it's going to be, oh yeah, this is gonna,
Yep.
you're going to have to freaking like force this down you, and then you're really not going to be something that you're going to go and drink a lot of, or even like push the boundaries of saying, hey, look, I'm going to pour myself a larger drink. I'm just going to keep these shorts and freaking just enjoy for what it is.
Right.
This actually is quite mellow, actually.
I mean, it's a nice, like almost a honey lemon cough drop sweetness in the front.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And then it just moves into this, we'll go with medicinal, swallow, push back. The swallow never finishes. The pushback never rises to exit the nose. It just exists back there, and it ends.
And I will say this, based on some of the other ones we had, the Macallan, the Old Portney, this has a very sharp taste compared to the other ones we have, which seem to be more, I'm not going to say cultured, but the taste that we've tried before seem to be more, you can feel that distinctiveness. You can go through the different tastes and pick out various traits of each one of those. This one has a very sharp taste, and it's really based on the fact that because of the amount of smoke and peatiness in it to begin with, not that it's harsh, but that is the first time I've experienced where I've now had to deal with a lot more than we have done in previous episodes, or maybe I've even tried like on a regular basis. This one really has that okay, there is peat, there is smoke, there is a taste that you may not enjoy in the sense, the medicinal part of it. Acidic. That's the first time I think we've really, I've really experienced on drinks that we've had here, where I'm going to say, hey, look, this is the first time that we've put our feet on the ground in an area where I certainly will say I'm not experienced with, and it's not an area I would go to if we went to a bar and we got a choice of what the drinks were. Something like this would not be my first choice. However,
If you knew what it was,
if
right?
I knew what it was.
Yep.
However, I will say this. Now I know what this is. The experience is a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
So I agree with you that knowing what it is will dictate when I would ask for it.
Correct.
Okay. I think the fact that the malt has been exposed to the peat for 48 hours separates it from a peaty whiskey that might be just overcome with the smoke in a short time. You know, so when you're out at a campfire and it's actively smoking, it's a much different experience than when you arrive at a campfire that's been out for a little while or has mellowed out,
yeah.
right? And that smoke may be deep and maybe have its own quality of robust, but that's a different than an active smoky experience. So this isn't active or smoking. This is some deep, lingering smoke that is just, again, with this 48 hours, for me, it's a much more palatable smoke than an overpowering smoke. And I think that's connected to what you're saying. Is if I know what this is, there are a number of occasions where I wouldn't want this whiskey.
Yes.
Right? But there are a couple where I might say,
this may be the correct one.
this might be the right whiskey, especially if you were in a conversation with somebody who understood whiskeys and you were like, what is the whiskey of this evening, whether it's our social experience we've just had or our environmental experience or a combination of both, to say if we were going to capitalize on understanding what experience we just had, this would be a complementary whiskey. I would think it would be connected to something that was cool or chilly. And if I was thinking about a social experience, I would probably think about something that had something sweet on a plate next to me. And I was combining something I was eating that was sweet with something that I was drinking that had a very controlled smokiness.
That's actually interesting. That's actually, I think, the approach that you took on that really sums up what this drink's about. And that's what makes this entire adventure really a great experience, is because we're going to get to try different things. For me especially, I'm going to be taken out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to be put in areas where I'm going to be like, oh, I don't want to be here, or you know what, I don't want to freaking drink this because if I don't like it, I'm going to say this is absolutely horrid.
Right, rubbish.
But if I was to be honest with this has completely blown my mind, in the sense that now I have to look at this area and be like, you know what? There are some palatable Campbelltowns. There are some palatable Isleys, because there are now. We've proven Islays. Excuse me. Yeah, we did this for Islays. But there are, because now I've reached one. Now I'm like, oh, you know what?
And again, I think it's setting aside the preconception, your preconceived notion of what a whiskey's going to taste like, based entirely upon the distillery or the region.
And this is like a great, I wish now there was a chance for these people to experience this, because this is completely blowing my mind. Yep. Because this is really not in my wheelhouse. I would never ever think about going out and buying this. I'd probably be the same thing. I would just walk right by and be like, not going to do it.
Which I've done for quite a number of times.
But now that I've tasted it, there's a certain time and place for something like this.
No, I'm excited to have had it, because there are a few other releases out there which I'm going to need to explore. Again, the distillery or the region does not necessarily guarantee the experience you're going to have. And we've had another example of that exact scenario. This is not what we expected. It had the peat, it had the smoke, but it didn't have it at what you would have imagined it at. Rather pleasant, has its place.
And even cutting it with water, the taste is exactly the same. There's no real change. It's just slightly more mellow.
Yep.
But I still have that feeling that, oh yeah, there's something here. There's some sort of smoke that's in here. There's definitely this peat taste to it. But there's some underlying sweetness to it, and it's really palatable. I'm not going to just turn my face up and be like, ooh, oh, that was harsh. I don't know about that one, Colin. This is actually rather pleasant, but in a different way than I would say the Macallan we had, or the Ardbeg. Those were freaking classic drinks that you were like, ooh, this is something completely brand new to me. And I'm like,
same, wow. As I said, I walked by it 100 times.
This is not bad.
Yep. So, I'm going to wrap up a regular episode with another pleasant surprise from a region that has a reputation. And so, I'm not super familiar with this continent in the sense of its history. I know there's a lot of devastation in its history, and I'm not exactly sure. I believe this to be essentially a southern African dialect.
South Africa.
Afrikaans with 2 A's, well actually 3 I guess, Afrikaans, and cheers. We've thrown you a couple Easter eggs tonight, and so cheers in Afrikaans is Gesundheit.